Hi, my name's Eva. Welcome to this channel. I have a guest with me, Hannah.
Hello.
For you who don't know who you are, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Hannah Witton. I'm a sex educator on YouTube, and I also have a sex and relationships podcast, and I've also written some books about sex and periods, so
yeah,
all that good stuff.
Hannah's got so much amazing sex ed content that you can... sex ed content for days.
Let it rain sex ed content.
For our video on my channel, I thought it would only be fitting to have a place for us to really nerd out. I'm going to be talking about some of my favorite academic papers about sex that I've...
Nerd!
Nerd alert! That I've read, some of which for my thesis, some of which just like...
For fun. Nerd. I don't have a master's, but I did actually do my bachelor's degree dissertation on the history of sex manuals. So yeah, that is the extent of my academic learning. So I'm excited to hear about some of these papers.
Yeah, and you're going to be doing one paper, I think, and then 2 books.
Yes.
Yay!
Do you want to start?
Sure. So the first paper I want to talk about is called Not All Orgasms Are Created Equal, which... love it.
Great
title. Good title. It's basically one of the first studies that collected data on people kind of all sexual orientations about their orgasm rate and sexual satisfaction.
I feel like I've read in online articles and magazines probably people quoting this study, because this blew up quite a lot, because it's people basically being like straight cis women have less orgasms than lesbian cis women. Yeah.
There are a couple, I think there are 3 papers that do stuff like this, but this is one of them.
It's one of the big ones.
Yeah, so it was
the source.
Big finding, that women in relationships with women are more sexually satisfied, like from the same acts as straight women. So
what does sexually satisfied mean?
So, like, when you rate, like, how sexually satisfied are you when your partner goes down on you?
Ah, okay, so it's people saying, like, 9 out of 10 or 2 out of 10, right? Interesting.
And then also more orgasms. Another cool finding from the study is on queer men, and it was that they're having way less anal sex than I think is like societally connected
Perceived.
with queer men.
Yeah.
But I don't think it was significantly more than any other group.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so interesting, because that sex act is so associated with gay men.
When it's really... Yeah.
Everybody.
Everybody's having...
Everybody and nobody.
is having anal sex a little bit.
My first book is Come As You Are by Emily Nagoski. The subtitle is The Surprising New Science That Will Transform Your Sex Life. And actually, when friends of mine have texted me being like, my friend needs some advice. It actually was a friend, but also she needed advice too. This is like my go-to recommendation for like mismatched sex drives or
like arousal stuff.
Arousal stuff with partners. It is so thorough, and it's basically like a school textbook. Like, there are exercises that you can do in it, and she does like a TLDR at the end of every section. Whilst I was reading it, I was getting kind of frustrated that it was a bit repetitive, but then I realised that there aren't that many non-fiction books where after I finished reading it, I could be like, it talked about XYZ and here is everything that I learned, because most of it just like flies out and you remember one thing. Yeah. Whereas with this, I remember so much of it because it was really repetitive. Yeah. So even though it was frustrating to read, useful.
I think it's maybe repetitive too, because there's kind of these things like overlap and are related to each other. Yeah. So it's like, now that we know this thing, building on from that, this thing. And
so much of it is unlearning. So we have like all of these ingrained ideas about like what a good sex drive is and what a good sex life is. Yeah. And so I think the reason why it like repeats stuff over and over again is just to be like, it's fine, like, you're doing great, honey.
Yeah, that's basically the whole book. Like, you're not broken. Actually, so many people are like this.
Yeah, 100%. So would recommend.
Okay, second one. Okay, my second one is again about orgasms, and it's about the idea that for people in relationships, like men and women in relationships, men view their partner's relationship as like a masculinity achievement. So when they like give their partner, a female partner, an orgasm,
it's reflecting on them.
They're like, I feel so manly and like I've achieved this like milestone.
And then what about like the other way around?
So when they don't, they feel like emasculated.
Oh, okay.
And that link is stronger in men who believe in more rigid gender roles.
Oh. interesting, like that attachment of self-worth and masculinity.
Which I think is maybe why, people like us, like sex educators, can be threatening to men, because then it's not about their ability to like magically give their partner an orgasm. Like,
I know, but then we're also freeing them from the negative side of that, of like feeling inadequate in their manhood if they can't give their partner an orgasm. And we'll be like, it's got nothing to do with your manhood, my friend.
You're free.
You're free.
Have the sex you want without this like immense pressure to do this one specific thing.
This is one of my favorite books. A Little Gay History, Desire and Diversity Across the World by R.B. Parkinson. I found this in the British Museum gift shop because it basically includes objects of like LGBT history. A lot of the objects in this book are in the British Museum.
That's so cool.
And I've done some stuff with the British Museum before because they run like these sex education workshops for young people. So they have like lots of different objects in the museum throughout history, and a lot of them are related to LGBT history. A lot of them are also just like generally related to sex history, relationships and sexuality and all of that stuff. And they basically like take a group of like secondary school kids like around and talk about the objects, talk about the themes.
I love that so much.
It's amazing. And then they also have an LGBT trail, so you can find it online. But it's also like a weird thing of like, they're not making it super obvious, but you can go online and find the LGBT trail and do it that way. I feel like the last time I went there, though, they had like little pride stickers on everything, like near everything that was LGBT related. The workshop's really cool, and I went round with my friends who like give the workshop, and they were like, and then we look at this statue and we talk about porn. And I was like, I love this.
That's amazing.
Yeah. But if you want to nerd out about like history and sex objects, this is a nice place to start. It's nice and small and pictures.
I love that.
Yeah.
Number 3. This is like an interview study, and they brought up a bunch of people in to talk about how they text with their partner about...
Oh, this is your thesis.
This is very similar to my thesis. This is basically like... I mean, I think my thesis is pretty cool, but like, I also want this study to have been my thesis.
Oh,
so they brought people in and talked about them texting, like, do you text your partner about condom use, and like, how do you negotiate condom use, like before, like if you're going over to their place, be like, I'm picking up a condom, or like that stuff, and also STI testing, like strategies that people use to bring that up. And then also for pleasure. So there's like a quote from someone in there basically being like, this is an example of my sext. Like, this is how I'm like, so you're gonna like do this here. And like, so she's like, when we hook up, then like they know what's going on.
Oh my God. And how old are they?
This is young adults, I think, so 18 to 29.
Okay. Nice. Good work, person.
Right.
Does it conclude anything about like young people's behavior and if they, communicate via text, those kinds of things in their sex life or anything like that? Or
see, I don't know whether this is like my takeaway from the article or the article's actual takeaway, but my takeaway is that like, and is always that like technology, I think, can be an amazing tool for people to have these conversations. Yeah.
Where's the condom emoji?
I think condom emoji would be amazing.
Or at least something that people could then like interpret as the condom emoji, the same way as like the aubergine or the zucchini, whatever.
Love it. Amazing. Okay.
So I don't really read any academic articles. I wish, but I read this one when I was researching for this video that I did about the UK porn block, which has been indefinitely postponed. Yay! But this article was by Alan McKee called "Does Pornography Harm Young People or Children?" Young people. I think young people. And it was super interesting. Like, one of the points was about the practices of like, how do you actually study it? Like the methodology. And it's like, you can't actually, for ethical reasons, do an actual controlled study on if pornography harms young people or not, because then you have to take a group of young people and be like, you're the controls, you're not allowed to watch any porn. And then the other group of young people will be like, watch porn, kids. Like, you can't legally sit kids in front of porn or expose young people to sexually explicit material, even if it's in the name of science. Can't do that. No. So the studies that exist out there are all like reflective stuff, like hey, how old are you when you started watching porn? How do you feel about sex? And doing it that way, really interesting. And it kind of like takes into account all of the different ways that people have tried to study
really
this,
cool.
and then also being like, hey, what is healthy sexual development in children? And basically it's just like, there is no direct negative effect of porn on young people, which is really interesting. It's like an amalgamation of other things, like just porn, like just blaming porn, like that ain't gonna cut it.
No, it's got to be like porn and the attitudes around when you grew up,
Plus,
maybe.
plus lack of education around it. It's just really interesting, because I think a lot of the time the conversations around porn and policy making is like, won't somebody think of the children?
When it's like, that's not actually what the research shows.
They're fine.
Awesome. So that's
Nerds!
We did do a video over on Hannah's channel talking all about
Hogwarts and sex education, obviously.
so exciting. After you're done watching this, go watch that one. But yeah, that's all for me today. Do you want to do my outro?
Oh my god, what is it?
Say have a lovely day.
Oh yeah.
And then I do a wave. It's, yep.
Have a lovely day!
Bye!